Over the last few days, Ahed Tamimi made headlines around the world. So what exactly shot her into the spotlight? Well, she kind of filmed herself punching, kicking and slapping Israeli soldiers. Now I'm pretty sure that if that was here in the UK and a young adult assaulted two British police officers in the same way, our officers would not show the same level of restraint as those two Israeli soldiers did in that clip. But instead of the world acknowledging this restraint, the global press went berserk when Israel arrested Ahed for the assault. So who exactly is this delightful young woman? Well, Ahed Tamimi first made a name for herself when she was just 13 years old. When most children were out playing hide and seek or chase, this sweet little girl was busy harassing and assaulting Israeli soldiers. In fact, she became so famous for this that she was honoured by the Prime Minister of Turkey and the leader of the Palestinian people, Muhammadu Buhari. That was when she was 13. But once she turned 14, she again grabbed international headlines, this time for assaulting Israeli soldiers. When she turned 15, her fame grew even more, this time because she assaulted Israeli soldiers. When she turned 16, guess what? She became even more famous. This time, it was for assaulting Israeli soldiers. And now that she's 18, she's once again all over the international press, and you'll never guess what for. Assaulting Israeli soldiers. This delightful young woman has been assaulting Israeli soldiers for the last 5 years. So, let's see her in action.
What to do? What to do? لا ما أدخل كلام what to do? لا لا دخلت ولا صغير
Now, Ahed, when you were a snotty-nosed teenager, you could get away with repeatedly assaulting Israelis. But as an adult, if you slap, kick and punch Israelis, you can get charged as an adult. And that's exactly what has happened. The world has tried to paint Ahed as a 16-year-old victim, yet when she met Erdogan in 2012, she was 13. Now, I'm no rocket scientist, but if she was 13 in December 2012, that would make her 18 today. Why is the international press reporting her as being 16 when she's 18? She's an adult, not a child. But rather than focus on this, or focus on Ahed's stupidity, which we could do all day, we want to talk about her family, the Tamimis. Take, for example, her auntie, Tamimi, who was responsible for murdering 15 Israelis. Half of these were children, when she bombed a restaurant in Israel. And then there is her sweet, sweet mother, who regularly incites terrorism against Jews. In this delightful Facebook post, she's showing Palestinians the choicest, the best places to stab Jews. What a role model! I mean, it's hardly surprising that Ahed turned out to be such a devoted peace activist. You see, the Tamimi family are famous for creating propaganda and carrying out terrorism against Israel. Her father, Bassem al-Tamimi, has been putting his children on the front line since they were knee-high to a grasshopper.
تربية الأطفال تحت الاحتلال يعني يعقد مسؤولية الآباء وتصبح مسؤولية أكثر يعني إشكالية وأكثر تعقيد.
Now, no sane father would put their children at such risk, but Bassem isn't insane. He knows that his children are completely safe. After all, they've been doing this for over 5 years. Now, do you honestly think that if Bassem lived in Syria and it was Assad's troops and not Israeli troops, that they would be taunting them in this way? Of course not. They'd find themselves on the sharp end of a bayonet if they did. They do this because they know it's safe to do so, and they can create great propaganda from the photographs and the videos, which is then spread around the world and shared with the international press, which is exactly what has happened here. To show how absurd this coverage got, Al Jazeera compared Ahed to Malala Yousafzai. Now, for those that don't remember, Malala was the young girl who was shot in the head by the Taliban because she believed that girls had a right to education. Whereas Ahed has never been shot and is famous for attacking Israelis. There's no comparison. Then there was Galloway, who describes Ahed as a daughter of the Arabs and the Israelis as foreign men. This is the same Galloway that infers that blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jews have no place in Israel because they're not indigenous. Yet somehow he believes that blonde-haired, blue-eyed Palestinians are indigenous, which just goes to show the absurdity of those that make claims about whether someone is indigenous or not based on their external appearance. It also wasn't lost on us that Ahed has a much lighter complexion than all of the surrounding Israelis in this photograph. However, Hamas hands down win the comment of the day after they suggested that Ahed was abducted, not arrested, because she complained to the Israelis about being cold. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Then there's Jeremy Corbyn. Dear old Jeremy Corbyn.
There's a girl in Palestine. She had been arrested overnight, and
Jenna, can I say thank you for coming and thank you for asking me that question, because that shows real care and support for other people. This girl who's been arrested shouldn't be in prison because children should never be in prison. And if people are standing up for their rights, then they should be allowed to do that.
Jezza, what on earth are you doing pretending that an 18-year-old woman that assaulted an Israeli soldier was A, a child, and B, justified in doing so? God help us if you get into Downing Street. The huge outrage around the world about this non-story demonstrates one thing and one thing alone. There are literally millions of people that will grasp at anything to attack the world's only Jewish state. For more videos like this, follow the Israel Advocacy Movement on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter.